Good afternoon, welcome, and thank you very much for coming out today. It's been quite a nice, pleasant journey here, I hope, for everyone. And my name is Alex Russell-Stoneham. I help co-chair Tamar Dowsers, in case some of you haven't met me before. And today we're going to be talking about energy and how we keep ourselves clean and how we keep ourselves balanced and open so that we can be really in alignment when we're doing not just our dowsing work. It can apply to space clearing work in a house, our energy work on ourselves, being with clients or family members, whatever we're interacting with, going to the shops. This is a really handy set of tools. I can imagine people in this room, some of us have been working with energy for many, many moons. And so there's lots of different things we can each bring and share to the table. And I'm hoping to share things with you that I found useful for myself, my own practice. And also, I'd love to hear if you have any suggestions as well. As we go through, it will be, as much as we can, interactive in terms of let's try things as we go through. So we've left a bit of space in front of some of the chairs so that if we stand up, we can have space to do that. If you have any questions, please just raise your hand, holler, and just let me know if there's anything that needs clarifying or, just expanding on a bit more. Happy to help with that. So in terms of starting off, I've said thank you to you for coming. It's really lovely to see you. I want to thank people who've helped me on my journey to here. So when I was 15, I started on my healing journey, and I have been working with Savina for 35 or more years now. And she helped me study Reiki. She helped me get to Reiki Master. She helped me understand what shamanic journeying was, and she's helped me start on my journey towards being a coach and helped me understand, teaching me all about chakras and energy systems and an attitude of gratitude, which I'm forever grateful for her to share. And also I've had the honour and privilege of working with a wonderful psychic intuitive called Dorothy Chitty, who's based in Devon. And she's taught me a lot about spiritual growth and channeling, intuiting, being psychic, seeing the signs, and helping work with those energies in the higher realms. I've also more recently been working and collaborating with Evelyn Mulders, who's based in Canada. Absolutely love collaborating with her. She is a magical alchemist. She's developed sound essences, which I use day to day, and I've brought them along with me in case you're curious to see what they're like. They're absolutely beautiful, and she gave a talk to some dowsers a couple of years ago now, and I knew the moment she started talking and sharing what she did, I've got to work with you. You are amazing. So I'm very grateful to collaborate with her. And also Melinda Iverson-In. Now, Melinda's based in Hawaii, and I first came across Melinda when she was doing a talk to the British Society of Dowsers. I heard it on a podcast, the Adventures in Dowsing podcast that Graham Gardner had put out. I heard her voice, I heard her process, how she interacted, and it really lit me up, and I felt, oh gosh, I'd love to work with you in some way. And I found that she'd written some books on dowsing. There's a Spirit of Dowsing and Dowsing with the Etheric Body. And more recently, she's been downloading techniques for dowsing with crystals and constellations in the stars. So we met first time face-to-face last May. And we have a really lovely collaboration. So I just want to say thank you to Melinda. And she's joining us on a joint Zoom call next month in March. And she's going to be talking about multi-dimensional energies. So yeah, she's a really amazing teacher and sharer of knowledge. And so just preparing for dowsing, it's really lovely to think about different aspects of how to get the body, mind, spirit prepared. And this, again, can be preparing for energy work, it can be preparing for self-inquiry, going within. It can be any of those things. So I've just laid out some key aspects of grounding and protection. So grounding meaning really being physically connected with Mother Earth and feeling that connection, and also drawing those higher energies through us as well as connecting downwards. And then being centered, and there's a technique I'm going to share called the Gamut technique, which is, I'll talk about it in a bit more detail. It's really fun and easy and repeatable, and it helps clear the mind in a wonderful way. Setting our intention, getting on the right track, really, as we go forwards. How do we center ourselves and set that intention? And also getting permission, which again, I can imagine lots of us have been familiar with. So grounding and protection. There's, first of all, a technique which I'd like to share with you, and feel free to try it out as well if you'd like to. If you want to, it's better standing to do this exercise. It's not; these are other exercises I'm showing as icons, but this one here, when you learn to super ground, one way I've learnt, thanks to Melinda, is just drawing the energies from above, imagining them coming all the way through you, and your energy going and rooting down into the earth. And so you kind of stand with your feet a little bit apart, looking upwards, drawing the energy in. It's really lovely to feel when you have drawn that energy in from the higher source energy. Your hands can sometimes feel a bit glowy or tingly when you're more replete. And then when you are ready and you feel that grounding core going into Mother Earth, you can breathe in, draw your hands down to where your heart chakra is, and then breathing out, slightly bending your knees and allowing the energy to come through you, and breathing out. Just doing this 3 times is a really lovely... Would you like to try that just yourselves, if you're up for trying it together? So, when we're ready... Okay. Feeling our feet on the ground, opening up above, feeling a light or energy coming through from above, inviting it in, imagining that light and the energy coming through us, through the soles of our feet, possibly with a cord from us going down into the ground. And then when you're ready, breathing in, drawing your hands down, holding them midway in your midline where your heart chakra is, and then bending your knees slightly. Breathing out, letting go when you're breathing out of anything you no longer need. One more time, breathing in, inviting in these beneficial energies, drawing them into us, being grateful, and then at the heart space, turning the hands to face down, bending the knees slightly. That's lovely. Breathing out what's no longer needed. Last time. Breathing in. That's beautiful. Okay. How are we feeling? We're grounded now. We've connected a bit. And what's beautiful about, thank you, those slow, intentional movements, is it's helping us to slow down a bit as well. These are the ways I've indicated. These are almost like you can do this instead or as well as. So sometimes it's really nice just to imagine with your energy field. We typically have our energy field as an egg around us, an egg shape, and it kind of extends to where our hands extend. So by intentionally sort of smoothing and almost like giving a stroke to our energy field, it's a really nice thing to do. And again, this way as well, just feels really, really nice. It's sort of setting your intention like I'm here, I can feel my energy field, I'm connecting with it. And one way I found that's really simple yet almost poetically beautiful of how to align with our higher self, the soul self that resides in the 8th chakra, is when you've done this grounding, to hold your hand almost like a half hand prayer sort of. So you've got it like as if it was 2 hands, but I just hold it above at my 8th chakra and then drawing it down to my 3rd eye, drawing my sort of higher self energy down to my 3rd eye, just almost like kissing it with my thumb, and then down to my heart chakra as well. And if you'd like to try that, you can be seated for this one, just holding your hand above to where your higher self, your soul archetype resides. Breathing it down into your 3rd eye. You're intentionally connecting to your higher self this way in a really simple yet beautiful way. And then down to your heart chakra. It's just again that gentle motion, gentle intention. Here we are. Okay. Thank you. And we sometimes benefit from protecting our energy. When we are going in to the field of consciousness, we may be accessing different levels, different dimensional aspects, different frequencies. And it's like if you're stepping out into the road, you watch both ways. You maybe press the button to set off the traffic light so it's safe to cross. It's the same principle with protecting our energy. We just want to take that common sense approach to allowing our energy field to be light and bright and clear because it's protected. So some ways that I've found are really helpful. One of them is the infinity sign. And the infinity sign is super powerful. And you can draw it when you are protecting your energy field. This is one technique I'll show you, and then we'll go on to the blue egg one. This is again, it's like a menu sort of list I'm giving you. You can pick and choose if things resonate with you. So drawing down with infinity, what you want to do is again, that same Y-shaped approach, you draw it down, and then instead of pushing down to the ground, you are now pushing out towards the edge of your field. And then you do this, breathing in, breathing out, pushing out to the edge of your field with intention that you're strengthening your energy field 3rd time. And when you've done that for the 3rd time, you then draw the infinity sign on its side, just as you wish, as it feels right. And then you imagine drawing this same infinity sign up to the top of your energy field. Imagine it going all the way down. And then a bit like, I always picture it a bit like a superhero with a cloak that's just swishing it around. Imagine that infinity being swished around you. Then that's your field protected because of that intention and your use of the infinity sign. Does that make sense? Do you want to try it as well? Should we do this together? You up for this? Just see how it feels. Drawing it down. Breathing in. Pushing out to the front. Knees bending slightly when you push out. That's it. And then the 2nd time, drawing in and then pushing down and out. You can start to feel the edges of your field as well, potentially. It's like it's making it really beautiful and robustly strong. And then you draw your infinity 8 on the side. There we go, in front of you. Draw it up to the top of your field, all the way down. Imagine it going down to the floor. And then swishing that figure of 8 infinity sign all the way around you. There we go. Beautiful. How does that feel? Yeah? Great. So, thank you. When we're getting out the car, ready to go into a busy shopping centre, we may not have the space to do that. And we may have forgotten to do our energy protection or hygiene practice before we go out. Maybe we're in a rush. A really nice, simple one to when we're going into, let's say, a conurbated area, and we've been working on our own inner energies, and we maybe just want to keep them fresh and spring clean. What we can do is imagine that energy field that we have around us as if it's a blue egg of light. Blue is such a naturally protective colour. It's very cleansing and clarifying. And so that energy, you can just imagine it going all around you. And it's just a natural protection. And it's very easy to imagine that. Just remember to remove it afterwards, because people may perceive you're a little bit further away. And so it's lovely to protect, but also to sort of draw it back again. Does that make sense? Does it feel okay so far? All right, great. Okay, cutting cords, invisible cords of energies, of thoughts. Everything has energy. Every thought has energy. And we have emotional connections with people we interact with. We have thought forms that go out there in the ether. When you're thinking of somebody, funnily enough, they phone. That kind of thing. We're constantly connecting with other people. It's sometimes, again, good energy hygiene to practice cutting cords, because cords can be a bit of a drain on us without us realizing. And we can have other people, maybe we've had a difficult set of interactions with them. We may just want to make sure that there's no continuing draw on our energies. They tend to be in the front sort of solar plexus chakra area. These cords tend to be connecting here. And what we can do to cut those cords with intention, you can either think of a particular scenario or person or group, or just in general, whatever feels right to you. And the way you can cut these cords for your own energetic hygiene and self-care is to do it with sound. So the way we do this with sound is we imagine a cord coming from us to this other person, and we clap quite, firmly, and then we click our fingers, and that action cuts the cord because we're also calling on it to be cut. We draw that little tendril of the cord back into our solar plexus and push the other bit of the cord back towards that person with love. There's no judgment here. So we just sometimes need to do this. So it's a clap, click, breath with the pushing back, but also reconnecting you to you. So that can be really good. Do you want to try that one as well, just to have a little go? If there's something or a person or a situation, if we all stand, if that's okay, just to do a little cord cuttings. If you wish, it's completely up to you. Okay, so imagine, can you feel some cords there? If there are any cords there that you want to return to sender, you clap, click, and then push back to them with a breath out, slight bending knee, and then hold the cords. And we do this 3 times. So it's a clap, click, Off you go. Clap, click. Here we go. How does that feel? Is that okay? Thank you. It's just, again, another bit of self-care we can do. And we're better off not being corded up when we're doing dowsing work, to be fair. You know, it's better to be free from any of these cords. Something I learned quite a few years ago is about building an etheric crystal pyramid and standing within it or sitting within it while I'm working. Pyramids are a really beautiful way to enhance our work, to ensure a really lovely connection. And so what I imagine when I'm doing this is I imagine the four corners of the crystal pyramid, and they're usually about 6-8 foot sides of the pyramid I'm imagining. I imagine a crystal, I see it a bit like a cube, about a foot cube of crystal at each corner. I draw one down to each corner. I draw one from above to above my head. And then what I do is I link the crystals together to form the pyramid. So I will imagine walking round, linking crystal to crystal. This is a really lovely thing to do in a treatment room as well. And then, so you've linked them all together around the 4 points at the base, and then you scoop up the energy, you kind of connect them all up to the crystal above your head, and then you sit in it, and off you go. So that is just lovely. And you can really feel the difference. You get the sense of clarity and enhanced connection as well. If you wish, this is a really lovely enhancement to a meditation practice. Create your etheric crystal pyramid, sit inside it, and then feel that enhanced support that you will get. Okay, right. Getting centered. It's really lovely to use tools and techniques to help us clear our busy minds. We have lists going on in our minds. We have self-talk. We have, what am I going to be saying to this person? Or how is that going to go? Or how did that go? Or could I have said that differently? Na, 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 na. Lots of thoughts on a loop, and they can just get incessant. And so I'd love to share with you a wonderful, simple, 30-second technique that gives you the equivalent benefit to as if you had meditated for a full hour. And I call it, like the benefit, I describe it for people who haven't done this before. It's as if you are flushing the brain loo of thoughts. And just, it's like a very still pool afterwards. And so, so on the back of your hand, so if you're right-handed, you will look at the back of your left hand, and vice versa, if you're left-handed, look at the back of your right hand. In between your ring finger and your pinky finger, there is a gully between the bones on the back of your hand. Now, if you get 3 fingers and tap all the way through this technique, just gently tapping in the gully on the back of the hand, in between the 4th and 5th fingers there. Right, here we go. And let's all do this together. And trust me, it feels a bit silly because we're going to hum Happy Birthday out loud. And we're going to count to 5 out loud and then hum Happy Birthday. But it's worth it. It really is. So if we close our eyes for a few seconds, let's close our eyes. 1, 2, 3. Open the eyes. Keeping the head still, look down to your right. Look down to your left. And then while you're looking down to your left, circle your eyes 360 degrees all the way around in a lovely big circle, back to that bottom left point. And then back the other way, all the way around to that left point, 360 degrees. And then humming Happy Birthday out loud. And then we count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Humming again, happy birthday. Okay, and then looking down with your eyes to the floor, drawing them up slowly over about 7 seconds, all the way up vertically to the ceiling. Taking a deep breath in, hand on the upper chest, hold the breath a moment, let things integrate, percolate, and then breathing out when you feel ready. Where are your thoughts? Have they been flushed away down the loo? Peace. Stillness. For those of us who like a logical explanation of what's happened, as well as the experiential practice, what we've done is we've worked with all of our senses and all of our parts of the brain to keep the brain fully occupied in counting, humming, left, right parts of the brain. We've done the periphery check, so we've told our brain we're safe. We've tapped a key point on the meridian line that's connected with our nervous system to, again, reset, tell us we're safe and we're here. And so because the brain has had so much to do and all the periphery checks, we're all safe, it can relax. Yay! So I found that incredibly helpful just to get into that state of meditative clarity. Again, if I'm a little bit busy, this is a very effective way to drop into the zone. Okay, now we've talked a little about higher self. What I would love to share with you, if you haven't connected with your higher self, just imagine an aspect of you as you know yourself to truly be possible to become. Imagine your true self with no judgment, no needs, just being. And being centered in the truth of who you really are is a very connected, calm, compassionate place to be. We don't criticize ourselves or others, we just are. And from that place, we naturally become the wise sage. The little me parts of us can just relax. They can observe, they can witness the true self, the embodied authentic self, just radiating love and light. By doing that exercise before, drawing the 8th chakra where the higher self resides, down to the 3rd eye, down to the heart, we are drawing on our higher self energy. There are some beautiful higher self meditations we can do to get into that connected, centered state. And when we're dowsing in this higher self state, we don't have an agenda or a need to know. It's a gentle curiosity that's grounded in compassion. So the need is just to one side over there. It's not driving our questions, and it doesn't influence our answers. So we're neutral. We're in the observer state. And I'm going to share a little bit about manager parts, because these are the parts that can influence our dowsing, our inner guidance, our questions. And we've just talked about the true self, the authentic self, the center of us that we can draw down and have that lovely energy. And through life, we have stuff that happens to us. And sometimes if a difficult or challenging situation is not resolved in the moment in the way it needs to be, especially when we're younger and especially up to the age of 7, what our psyche does, and the best way it knows, is it files those away down the corridor of the psyche behind closed doors. They're called wounded parts. They're also referred to as exiles or orphans or hurt parts. And we have aspects of our psyche called manager parts that try and keep a lid on them, because the manager parts are worried if the hurt parts come out, they'll flood or overwhelm the system. If the system's overwhelmed, we can't easily function. And that's when the firefighters kick in with distraction techniques or emergency things like, oh, quick, have a binge, or, soften that, distract, So the firefighters come in and do all sorts of distractions. But day to day, we have a lot of these programs running. Manager parts in the form of inner critic, controlling, like, I must do this, this is my list, that's what keeps me safe, I'm not stepping outside of my comfort zone. So I just wanted to show you if there's a lot of wonderful work that can be done with these parts, to accept them, be grateful for the work they've been doing. They may be running on old programming because they don't realise you're not 8 anymore, even though you're X age, and you bring them up to speed with love. We say, hey, guess what? We're this age, we've done all of this. And they're, oh, really? And then they start to recognise your true self and work as a team in a connected way. So I'm just drawing your attention to this. It's called internal family systems, but it goes back a long, long way. Jung as well expressed sort of elements of this as well, and there's different archetypes that you can draw on. But it's so beautiful to be in your connected true self state, because these are more the witness to your dowsing when you're dowsing. Otherwise, if you haven't done these energy hygienes, clarifying connects, these could potentially be driving your questions and the answers you're getting. So let's just be aware of that, because sometimes that need to know gets us a bit thirsty, doesn't it? And we kind of like, ooh, But just recognise it may not be us in the driving seat. It may be one of our parts trying to get that answer. Okay, intention. So we have ethics for dowsing. And this is the same for any connection to the field of consciousness. When we're curious about something, we need to have the ethics as central. And also, we've talked about being in the higher self state. So again, that naturally means that we're not attached to the outcome of the answers we're getting. And also, pacing ourselves. I don't know, when I'm doing sewing on a sewing machine, which I love, and I get a sense of no time when I'm sewing, if I've ever been in a hurry or a rush to do it, something always goes really wrong. The sewing machine has a fit of, no, I'm not doing it. Needle breaks. I'm rushing. And I know my sewing machine and I are not in concert together. That gentle pace is such a wonderful way to work. And of course, we are sometimes bound to be in a hurry, but it's just nice to allow yourself time and space for dowsing. Before we even start anything with dowsing, it's so beneficial to get permission. And we want to respect people's privacy, and we want to respect the domain where they are. We need to just tap into, do I genuinely have permission for this work? And when we're starting out, just work on ourselves or neutral things that aren't attached to other people, just to get that muscle memory built out. Okay, do I have the ability to do this? I may need help from another dowser who's experienced in this. So for me, if I try and dowse for lost objects, it's not always a great outcome. I don't generally find things. So I would, if I'm trying to find a lost something, I would probably get a no for that. And just maybe I could dowse for somebody I could ask who's good at tuning into lost objects. Then is it in my highest good? And is it in the highest good of all to do this? Is it okay? And is there any reason to not do this now? But maybe it could be okay later. And it can be When you're going to a stone circle, maybe the spirit of place or something in the landscape isn't okay with you going there at that time, space. And it's just good to respect the information you get back. Sometimes you get a maybe. Sometimes it's a don't know or later. So just be open to those in-between answers. Setting a positive intention. This is just an example of something that somebody can say. So I ask for blessing and light to flow through me and my pendulum or my rods as I carry out this dowsing work in alignment with my highest path and for the highest good of all. May it be so. Thank you and amen. So that's an example of something we could say. You might prefer to say something differently. It's completely up to you. But it's lovely to set that intention, connect with those higher powers again. It's also really lovely to get tuned in to how our energy is humming or otherwise. Is it a bit blocky? Is it going and flowing the right way? Because if we're not clearing ourselves as the vessel for, being the conduit for the dowsing, we may get a wrong answer. So it's really great to be in tune with that. So when we are thinking about this, we want to think about, are our energies balanced? Is there anything that needs clearing or neutralising? How may we wish to energise our field so we're in optimum humming frequencies? And, there's something, we might need to clear stuff out of our field. I was reading Andrew Tressider's words about sometimes it's like the washing up water, it just gets a bit ugh, and you just need to tip it down the sink or pull the plug out, so you just clear stuff out of your energy field that doesn't belong to you or is just along for the ride, perhaps. So these are the questions, and you may, if you want to try this, I've given you a printout of a dowsing fan if you wish to use one. It can be really nice to use a dowsing fan for this and some of the upcoming questions. So you may want to ask for yourself, do you have permission to go through these steps? You may wish to sort of get a yes or no. Do you want to, is this okay to do this, in other words? So and if you want to say a few words to yourself about, setting an intention and a blessing of please may I be supported, may I have blessings, whatever works for you. And when you're ready, we can do these questions together. So, am I grounded and balanced with earth energy, yes or no? So, I'm just asking for permission, and then I'm asking for, am I grounded? Yes. I'm getting a yes for me. Is anyone getting a no? We've already done some lovely grounding work, so I'd imagine we might be, but that's not to sort of influence any outcome. We're in that neutral state. Are we in that state? Grounded? Because if we're not grounded, we need to be. So ask for yourself to be grounded, and then your rods or pendulum will do whatever they do to get you to that, yes, you're grounded now, state. Okay. Now the next question, when you're ready, is my etheric grid in place? So the etheric field is 1.5 inches around your body. And sometimes when somebody beeps at us on the road with their horn and it's loud, or we have a jump scare or an unpleasant interaction with somebody, or we're in the company of somebody and their energy is quite draining for us, maybe we're low on resources. Our etheric grid, I picture it like a flower of life pattern around us, and sometimes if it's off key, it goes from this wide dinner plate connection up to a single thread feeling. So symptoms indicating that your etheric grid is off key is, I call it beached whale syndrome. All you feel like you are up to doing is lying on a sofa, and even holding a remote control feels like too much effort. It's feeling. And you feel useless, hopeless, despair sometimes, or just flat, or even those depressed symptoms. It's a very similar feeling to feeling low mood. So you want it to go from this single thread back to alignment. So if you check, and because if you dowse and you don't realize your etheric grid is misaligned, you again will get unsure answers to things, perhaps. So if you are able to dowse, is your etheric grid in place, yes or no? That's the next question to try out. And if it is no, you just ask for it to be realigned, and your rod or your pendulum will do what it does and then give you the feedback of it's done. Okay. Okay. When we're ready, anyone got any questions about etheric grid or being grounded, tuning in? Yes.
Is it possible that your ego might give you the answer you want it to give you?
Always. It's always possible your ego can get in the way and give you answers you want it to. Absolutely. I would say if you have done the preceding steps and got into that clarity state, your ego is likely to be less active. And just tuning in a moment and slowing down to why am I asking these questions in the first place? Why? What do I want to dowse for? What's in it for me, the little me? The way I can discern in my body whether it is the ego aspect or the true self aspect is where is it felt in the body. I tend to feel in the heart chakra area for the more knowledge, truth, wisdom driven questioning. For the I need to know little me ego self tends to arise from the solar plexus, and it feels sometimes a bit twisty, pinchy, like I must rather than I can. Does that help with the discernment?
What's a dictionary explanation of etheric?
Etheric, I'm not a dictionary, so I'm going to put my explanation. But what I understand it to be, the etheric field, and things I explained about etheric crystals, they're unseen energies, but they can be felt. The etheric body around our physical body is, the best way to describe it is like it's an information interface field. So you have your emotional body, your mental body as these other energy fields or layers around you, but information comes from out here and gets translated into the material through the etheric body. So the potential for illness or disease is coming in and then can go into the physical body through that etheric interface, if you like. So there is a whole other set of protocols for working at the etheric body level to help balance those imbalances before they hit the body. And there's also, it's where things like the 7 rays, Alice Bailey's work, they can be sort of balanced and harmonized. There's lots of other opportunities for infusing with color, planetary energy into the etheric body to balance it so that you're really harmonized. So it's worth looking up for the dictionary explanation, but that's my interpretation of how it is. So, and like I said, I see it like a pattern of a flower of life, sort of shape like this, all around us, and it can be knocked off. That's how I perceive it. Does that help answer a little bit?
I'll Google it tonight.
Go for it. Okay, this is a key one because a bit like the question earlier about ego, there are other things that can influence us in the form of attachments in our field or other people's energy that they have thrown shade towards us, let's say, dumped into our energy field. These can really affect us. So an attachment, what do I mean by an attachment? Some people call it a spirit or a ghost, but it can also be an energy of something that's stuck, that hasn't moved to the light yet. How do you know? How do you discern whether something's in your field that doesn't belong to you? For me, in my experience, there's been a number of examples of this. I get hungry for no reason, and when I eat, I feel like a robot. So it's not to eat. I feel like automatic eating, but I'm not satiated, and I'm not tasting the food very nicely. It's almost like I need to fill a hole feeling, and it's not coming from me. I may get more influenced by negative thinking, so I may find myself uncharacteristically thinking on a train of thought that doesn't really feel mine, but it may be influencing me in my field. I just may feel like it's a wet weekend, and I may emotionally feel a bit there as well, but it feels different to the etheric grid being off. So those are my indicators for me. You may find that if something's got into your field that doesn't belong to you, it just feels like a cloud. It's clouding in or crowding in, or you just feel a bit not nice. So if there is anything in your field that doesn't belong to you, yes or no, it's possible to ask that. So I'm getting a no at the moment for me. But if there was something in my field, I say these words. So if there's anything in my field which needs respect and recognition, please may it be guided through the doorway to heaven, which is my heart, with love and honour. May it be so, thank you and amen. So then I would be looking at my dowsing rod or pendulum and getting my neutralising sort of, anti-clockwise direction until that work has been done. So that's just, again, a really good health check, because those kinds of attachments and things in your field that don't belong to you can influence dowsing, and it's preferable to not douse when there's something in your field.
Just ask one.
Yes.
You said earlier about the energy body, and we're all sitting in quite close proximity. How does that work? Because we're all dowsing. It can be quite complex, I feel. That's a good question. So if we're all sitting in fairly close proximity, can our thought forms affect each other? Can our dowsing activity? It's possible. It's also possible for the mind to make it more complicated than it needs to be too. So when we're doing these energy hygiene practices and centering ourselves and protecting our field, it would follow from that our dowsing questions are our own and our answers are integral to us because we've done that pre-work. If we go in a bit like that example of crossing the road without pausing to look for the traffic, if we just go straight in a hall full of people and I start dowsing, I would absolutely suggest that it could be we're open to other influences for sure. So yes, there's something to be said for things like the power of 8, when people gather in groups to do group work with that intention, where it can be more than the sum of its parts. So again, when you define it as such, it can be beneficial. Yeah. Okay. Are my energies flowing in the right direction? This is such a simple question, and it, for me, is one of the most key questions in all of the dowsing protocols, in a way, that I use,
because we all have what's called a microcosmic orbit. We have meridians, the governor and conception line, the male and female line, and the governor line starts where your tummy button is, goes under the perineum, up the back of the spine, through to the roof of the mouth, and then the feminine or the conception line goes from the tongue down to the tummy. So it's like a circuit. So here's a picture of it, how it flows. You can breathe this way, and you imagine the energy flowing. So when I was taught Reiki, I was taught to sort of ground myself and also feel this microcosmic orbit with my breath. Now, sometimes this goes in reverse. And a bit like chakras, they spin one way, but they can spin the other way sometimes. They're trying to conserve energy. So if it's going backwards, if instead of going this way, it's going in reverse, what happens to your dowsing response? You get two negatives making a plus. So you get literally the opposite answer to what the answer is, yes or no. You will get a no when it's actually yes. So it's a really good sense check to check, are my energies flowing in the right direction? You may want to check that now. See, are they flowing? Because you might have been really busy. You might have been running around, and if they're flowing in the reverse direction, all you need to do is just ask for them to be realigned to flowing in the right direction again. So currently mine are flowing in the right direction, but then otherwise I would be doing this to get them to change. And it can easily happen. These are our energy, rivers of energy in our body. Okay, are we ready? Okay. What's my energy level? Am I at optimal energy to be asking my dowsing questions or to do this energy work? So you may want to use your dowsing fan here and just see where you are. I've suggested from where the yes is at the top, you can go in the 1 through to the 10, bless you. Think of it as 10%, 20%. So where is my energy level on this? I'm going to do this for me. My energy level is at 50%, so I'm going to ask it to go up to 100%. So, and then I'll just slow down when it's done. Here we go. Rightio. So see where you are for your energy levels. And then also, was there a question or? We are, okay. See where we are on the chakras. Are any of my chakras needing balancing? So 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th or 7th. So if there's one in need of balancing, just balance it. And my 3rd came up. So I'm just balancing my 3rd chakra right now. Am I at my ideal frequency? So is it optimal? Yes, no. If it isn't optimal, please raise my frequency to my ideal level. It's a lovely thing to do. It's like fine-tuning for when you're tuning in a violin. You want to make sure all the notes sound just true and before you play it. So here we go. I'm just doing that for my frequency, and please feel free to try the same thing. Here we go. Neutralising. This is a lovely thing to consider because, again, when we are in the world, we come across things that can affect us. There may be things affecting us. And these can all be neutralized by dowsing. So current, geopathic stress, EMFs. So are there any of these things affecting me? And just if you get a yes to any of these, just ask for them to be neutralized. And off you go with your dowsing tool. And if you're being negatively affected by mass consciousness, think about the media state of play right now. Think about how it's affecting our lovely neighbours and people across the world. It's like a soup of stuff out there. Is it affecting you? Are you, by being, let's say, connected and empathic, perhaps, are you being affected by that? Yes or no? If yes, just ask for it to be neutralized. No attachment to the outcome. Just let it flow to neutralize it. Am I adversely affected by negative thought forms? So this can be criticism, judgment of self or others. It's, again, when we're in those manager parts sort of our psyche, we can have that little voice inside to say, oh, who does she think she is? Or, what are they doing? Or why did I do that like that? Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing or sort of foolish, or whatever we say to ourselves in our own little heads. Are we affected adversely by that? Yes, no. If yes, please, can it be neutralized? Am I adversely affected by intensified negative thought forms? So these can be just too much and very, very intense, and that they're often from other people, and it can be in the form of hexes or curses, that kind of stuff. So we just may want to neutralize that as well, because it's not be anything under the emotional sun, really. If it's not benefiting you, it's non-beneficial. It could be sadness, it can be anger, frustration. It can be other people's emotions that are affecting us as well. So if we are, just ask yes or no, and then ask for them to be neutralized. And then once the neutralization has been completed, we can ask for them to be replaced with love, joy, forgiveness, and gratitude, because those are very much beneficial emotions. And we can amplify them in our field. Non-beneficial energetic patterns. And if we're affected by those, please can they be neutralized, and please can they be replaced with beneficial emotions of love, joy, forgiveness, and gratitude. I'll just pause here for a moment, because some of us are doing these sort of questions as we go. Does it make sense so far? Any other questions that are coming up? Okay. Does it feel like it's sort of, if it resonates with you, do you feel comfortable with this as a practice? Is there anything that you're questioning or wanting to know? Query it, okay, all right. So, we've done our energy hygiene on ourselves. We've cleared ourselves, we've aligned and balanced ourselves. And that set of protocols are just lovely as a daily practice anyway, just to keep our energies humming and to keep ourselves clear and aligned. When we're asking questions when dowsing, objectivity is really great. I've mentioned the word thought form because just having a neutral visual object of the person or the situation is really helpful to take it out of you. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. We want to be neutral. We want to ask our questions with clarity and really being specific in the right way. So objectivity. When I was studying with Melinda, we talked about the concept of having an avatar or a thought form of the person you're working on. Now, this person could be you. So it's good to get out of your own stuff and think of yourself as this object when you're asking dowsing questions for health or whatever you're working on. So I just brought an example here of something I keep on my desk. So I've got this lovely flower of life and this quite simple sort of sculpture. So this could be anyone, if you like. So if I'm working on somebody or working on myself, I have this on my desk and I look at that and I just say, has this person got anything affecting them? What is it? Can we neutralize it? Can we energize them in this way or balance and harmonize that way? So it's really good to make it a third party almost, to ensure more neutrality. The other thing Melinda shared was about having a really high vibe book. And you can put the thought form on here. Now, I've got a physical thought form, but you can have a book. So I've just showed, this is the book I use at home. I love Eileen Caddy from Findhorn and all her sort of connected thoughts and ideas. And it's 365 days of the year with something very high vibe on each page. So if you've got a book that resonates for you that's high vibe in nature, you can place that book on your workspace. You imagine the person on top of it, and it's almost like a doll size sort of mini version of that person. You imagine them there, you do the work, and then you close down that thought form, and then you finish the work. So that's just an example of how you can very easily become objective. And, you know, if you were doing energy work on a house, you would imagine the house on the high vibe book or the land, whatever. Calibration. Calibration is a really helpful way of, again, trying to be neutral and objective, because this sort of measurement is quite beneficial just to get, like, how much percent sort of strength is this, or how extreme is this, or whatever the question is. Calibration is a really helpful way to hone in. And I've got some more examples of calibration in a moment. So we're not alone. We've got beneficial, helpful energies that we can call on. Crystals is one. I found with people starting off in the healing practice or with dowsing, holding a crystal in one hand while using their pendulum over, you can ask for the crystal to help you with your dowsing, and it will really harmonize and help support you getting clear answers. Using guides, meaning spirit guides, your team. People sometimes call them guardian angels. We have a team working with us and around us 24/7. And it's really good to be discerning. I'm saying discrimination, but I mean just make sure they're actually your guides. If you're tuning in and working with them, you'll get a sense of presence and support and love. I once had a being come to me and they said, "Oh yeah, I'm your guide." And I wasn't even asking at the time, I was just feeling connected, but I felt something wasn't quite right. I felt it in my body of, who are you? I don't know you. There's something in my physical response that feels like, yeah, you're masked, you know, you're not who you're saying you are. It doesn't quite feel right. So trust your body, trust your instincts, trust your intuition to know that your guides are truly your guides. And that's where the protection comes in at the beginning every single time. But that's only happened once. So it's not to scare anyone. It's just to say being aware is helpful, but being in tune with your guides, they can do the work on our behalf. We can say, "Oh, please help with that," or that kind of thing. Sound essences. I've brought along these lovely sound essences today, and people are welcome to try them out. I have found that when I'm setting an intention for something and I'm wanting to measure the vitality of that intention or goal, I'm using my dowsing fan to say, okay, I would like to invite this to expand or come into my life a bit more. It may be I'm working on an aspect of my business, for example, and I can calibrate and measure what's the vitality of that intention, which sound essence might help amplify or support that intention. So helping neutralize hidden things that are holding me back, or help amplify beneficial energies. So that is a really, really helpful way to work that I found. And this is also a really basic thing, but making sure we're hydrated is really important as well. So have we drunk enough water? Have we, and I'm literally going to have to drink now, I'm thinking about it. So, just keeping hydrated, keeping fresh and clear. And to that same point, I would not recommend, under the influence of anything, trying to douse. So just water, not anything alcoholic when we're trying to douse as well. This is an example of how sound essences can help support with calibration, with enhancing intentions and our dowsing work. So we could say, I want a nice shiny new car, but actually what's the higher intention behind that? That's a little bit material, but the higher intention is, I would like to have freedom and be in the flow. And you can calibrate the strength of that, and by asking that higher value question, what will that do for you? It will allow me to feel this, or become this, or radiate this. So when you have an intention, and you have the vibration of a sound essence to enhance and support it, it can help manifest things as well. Okay, has anyone come across a map of consciousness? It's a really lovely tool for calibrating and discerning as well. So Dr. David Hawkins is an amazing person who, aged 12 in a snowdrift, became fully awakened, and he studied psychiatry and also was very holistic. There are a lot of his talks on YouTube. He's no longer with us. He wrote wonderful books as well about healing, and he bridged science and spirituality in a really positive way. He developed a map of consciousness, which is in his books. And what he talks about is something life-supporting or not? Is this horror film going to make me feel better when I watch it? So where does it calibrate? If it calibrates below the score of 200, it is not life-supporting. You can apply that same question to food. Buying a house, going on holiday somewhere, choosing somewhere to stay on holiday. It's a very helpful calibration tool. Anything above 200 starts to become life-supporting, and up to 500, I'd say you're in the clear. These ones, anything over 500, is you're starting to shimmer a bit more. So I'm just going to show you the map of consciousness all in one. So it's a lot of information all here. But you can see the ultimate thing is power rather than force. So if we try and do anything from a place of lack, from a place of pressure, stress, guilt, apathy, shame, all of these lower ones, if we're trying to do anything and achieve anything from here, we will be forcing things to try and get through. That's that same solar plexus energy. Push, 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 force, force, force. Can you imagine how exhausting that is? And maybe there are quite a few blocks in the way for you to proceed and expand. So it's a ladder. You can go up from grief to fear. You can go up from pride to courage. And this is crossing this magical line to above 200, where if you're acting from a place of courage or neutrality, like we were talking about with our dowsing questions, if you're operating from here, or hopefully even up towards the spiritual paradigm, things are driven by a power that can carry you through. You don't have to do the heavy lifting. So I find this map of consciousness incredibly helpful for where is this film that I'm about to consume on this map of consciousness. If it's below 200, I choose to not consume it. Because if I do consume it, I will feel worse as a result. So it's a very good calibration and discernment tool that goes really well with dowsing. So Dr. David Hawkins used muscle testing kinesiology to calibrate this in people. And there's a huge way of applying this across many different aspects of life. And just because we're here, if we calibrate where are we operating from, if we're just in pride, it doesn't mean we're stuck there. We oscillate because life happens, things happen, we feel certain things. And, it's about not beating ourselves up if we do dip below. It's non-judgment. And just how can we just find the next best thing to lift our spirits a bit or help us feel more in this higher realm. And it's really helpful as a map. So just as we started with energy hygiene and grounding and aligning and clearing, it's really good to consciously close the session that we've opened. And we do that with our intention. So if we have this little thought form or avatar on a book, or we just shut down our connection intentionally, we are grateful for the support and the guidance, and we're ever so thankful, and just we ask for ourselves just to double check, can we be balanced, cleared, centered, grounded and replenished as we close that session. Any questions? Okay.
Are you going to be able to send us out?
Yes, I can send it out absolutely as a PDF. I've also got some printables that I sort of have these with words attached for how to start your day aligned, clear, protected and grounded. So I can send these out because you can just print them out at home, because this is more for sharing on screen as such. But yeah, I'm happy to share them. Thanks. Any other questions? Anything? Yes?
The sound essence, is it just a question of flooding a liquid with a certain frequency?
Oh, good question. So the sound essences were created by Evelyn Mulders, who's an alchemist, and she went to a sound healing session, a sound bath in the 1990s, and she said her cells did a happy dance. And wow, isn't that amazing? How can more people experience that? Because this is in a day when gong baths weren't really that widespread. We see a lot more of them now. So she asked her healing teacher, she's an engineer by trade, and she said, well, she was studying herbs and healing as well. And she said to this mentor of hers, well, I wonder if it's possible to bottle sound. And her teacher said, well, Evelyn, why don't you go and find out? And off she goes on her quest and odyssey. And so she's found a way to put the energy of sound with a crystal bowl keeper, playing the bowl, vibrationally infusing the sound essence with that note or collection of notes. And then she's working at the meridian, the chakra, and the auric field level, as well as the heart toroidal field and the holographic archangel blessings. There's a fifth dimensional frequencies. So it's quite a sort of answer to your question about sound, but a lot of things have been put in here. Homeopathy, fairy essences from Ireland, Pacific flower essences, and crystal elixirs, and aromatherapy as well. So you're welcome to try them out. What you do is you dowse for which one is most beneficial for you right now, or if you're working in a space and the energy is a bit cloggy, muggy, you may find something like Aura Joy is a really nice mister to sort of clear the atmosphere. I know an estate agent who mists the home they're about to do the viewing in. It's just, woo. So you just shake the bottle up like this a few times, take off the lid, mist 3 times in your field, and you can say an affirmation or tune into what the beneficial energies are for it. So does that help answer your question a bit? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Right. Well, thank you very much. Okay, cheers.